Hey guys, and welcome back to the ASX Investor channel, and welcome back to another ASX CEO interview. Today, we are very excited to be bringing to you all another interview. We'll be unpacking the Tesserent story. They're the ASX's largest listed cybersecurity company. They're riding on the tailwinds of a growing sector. They've had some phenomenal results recently. We'll be unpacking the Appendix 4C and the quarterly numbers. They've also got some exciting changes coming up ahead. Looking forward to discussing it all. Today, we don't have one, we've actually got two. Both of the co-CEOs for Tesserent are joining us. Good morning to Kurt Hansen. Good morning to Julian Challingsworth. Looking forward to this discussion. Welcome to the channel.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us on.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you back. Before we dive into the announcements and all of the exciting things that are happening with the ASX TNT story, it might be good to have a bit of a refresher into who is Tesserent and what is the problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, well, look, we're a business that's 100% dedicated to cybersecurity. And by that, we mean we're ostensibly a cybersecurity services business. We do a lot of consulting around cybersecurity with clients. We provide a lot of the solutions that clients need in terms of products, and we provide a lot of engineering services around those products. And where clients can't manage those products themselves, we provide a degree of managed service. And we're about a 50% consulting business, about 30% annuity of managed services, and about 20% products. And that goes into what we'll talk about certainly with our 4C at about the 150 turnover. So we've been a journey on the ASX now for about 5 years. We started off as a small business just listed in Box Hill in Melbourne, but we're now sort of across Australia and New Zealand. And we've got many clients now in the ASX top 100, which we're really pleased to have. Very strong in government, particularly federal government, New South Wales government. We address verticals like financial services and critical infrastructure. So we're obviously at the epicenter of the push in cybersecurity to keep Australian and New Zealand businesses safe and keep their data away from the bad guys.
Appreciate that overview, and it's been fantastic to see the continued growth. Of course, this has culminated with a remarkable Appendix 4C. You had a stated run rate of $150 million. You guys absolutely blew through those numbers, record EBITDA numbers, a record month for turnover as well. I'd be fascinated just to hear some of those reflections on the numbers and what it means for the story moving forward. Please, Julian.
We did have a really great quarter, and I think it's a culmination of a really successful year that set us up for the quarter, but not just for the quarter, but also going into FY22. We did really smash through the numbers. We'd stated our ambition for the year was to get to a turnover of 150 million. We comfortably exceeded that, which was really pleasing, but not only in the month of June, but for the quarter. And I think that's a really important thing. When you start to unpack those numbers, I think the really pleasing thing for us is the type of deals and the type of customers that we were addressing. In that quarter, we sold the biggest deals we've ever done, a number of multi-year, multi-million dollar deals. And importantly, we sold them into customers that are iconic Australian businesses. And some of them are of size that we would not have potentially Tesserent 12 months ago. We wouldn't have been able to sell to them. We're now large organizations in the ASX 50 are looking at Tesserent as the leading provider with geographic coverage to support them across Australia and with a really strong balance sheet. So they're turning to us and they trust us with their biggest cyber engagements. And that's really what underpins the strong quarter and set us up for the month. We're really pleased. June was close to 21 million in turnover. That was almost our turnover 2 years ago. So we're doing in a month what we used to do in a year. The accounts we're selling into also have big cyber budgets and complex problems to solve. So it's not just a sale for June, but it's setting ourselves up in those accounts to make many sales across the year. And most of the product elements in those sales will renew for many years to come, we hope, as we deliver great services for the customer. Next quarter will be strong. Potentially not the same because June was big, but we are growing constantly. We're seeing very strong organic growth and seeing excellent cross-sell between the teams. So our focus really on multiple services to customers, and that's what you're seeing in the 4C, the results of the year of the teams coming together and working hard to defeat the bad guys and keep our customers' data safe. Strong EBITDA numbers, really pleasing to see 3.8 as the number there. Again, that's flowing into next year. Strong cash flow from operations, which is giving us the ability to fund our growth and potentially fund future acquisitions and parts of future acquisitions from cash flow. So really, it really puts a bow on what was a really busy year. I think someone mentioned to us that we did more acquisitions than any other organisation on the ASX, which is great. I mean, it's not our ambition to do them just for the sake of them, but we have got some fantastic teams that have come in, have joined us. We've really committed to technology platforms in the background with Oracle NetSuite and Salesforce. So those organisations are onboarded and in our system and running well. So the integration has been going well. Our head of synergies worked across the year and carved out in excess of $1 million of costs, and we'll continue to get some costs out as we consolidate offices and back office capability.
It's an incredible quarter, and you and the entire team should all be incredibly proud seeing those numbers, and we'll definitely continue to watch where that story heads over the next year. Looking forward to financial year 2022. What's that looking like? How is there going to be some organizational redevelopments or some refocuses? We'd be keen to hear some of those thoughts around that operational side from you, Kurt.
Yeah, sure. Look, FY21, as Julian said, was a really we obviously brought together a number of the cybersecurity assets. So we brought together consulting, managed services, businesses focused on product. We brought together some geographic diversity with obviously moving into New Zealand. And what that led to is, dozens and dozens of opportunities in a cross-selling format where a colleague from one brand or one business would bring in another colleague from another business into an opportunity. And all of a sudden we're selling 2 service items, 2 line items into that client. But of course, that's a different ABN. It's contractually, not ideal for the client. And because of the momentum and the opportunity that presented us, we've done a reorganisation which we kicked off internally 1st of July, coming into the new financial year. So we've basically grouped some of those what we call capabilities into broader solution sets around defend and protect, which is consulting and product sales. So we've put together a first-class product team, bringing together some of the assets in the different businesses into one team. That deals with the vendor community, the security software community, to be able to bring best-in-breed solutions to the right clients at the right time. We're really becoming a trusted advisor for clients around selecting, because there's 1,000 different software vendors out there that are all claiming, the silver bullet. Detect and respond, the assets that we brought on board with Secure Logic, 24/7 managed detection and response, terrific team, put together some other businesses with those guys. So they're a detect and respond business. Secure Cloud, the migration of clients to cloud, which comes a lot from the IQ3 and the original Tesserent Security Operations Network Operations Center in Box Hill. We've put those businesses together, and they are driving a cloud-first migration strategy securely. New Zealand, we've obviously got a great business in New Zealand, but we're building out Tesserent in New Zealand in parallel with the lateral security business. Just one of the things that we're now doing is we're able to, of course, we can still acquire businesses, but we're acquiring talent. So we've got some senior talent joining us because we're the size now, and we're making an impact that serious players want to join us. So one of those guys is joining us in New Zealand next week. We'll make a bit of a press announcement about that, I'm sure. And he's going to be selling the entire portfolio of Tesserent, into the New Zealand market with a great Teledex and a great track record. Those capabilities are now operating in our Canberra business, with the 2 business units that ostensibly offer that. We're not changing those businesses. They're going so well. We're just leaving them untouched for now in terms of reorganisation. But we strongly operate into the state government sectors, local government. So we're taking all of those capabilities in a stronger way, as well as financial services and critical infrastructure. The real critical factor here is we're now able to bring clients into one, what we call managed services agreement, one contract, and we're able to bring multiple services under the Tesserent brand. By the way, we're going to refresh the Tesserent brand. There's going to be some exciting developments with that as well, because effectively, over the last 18 months, 2 years, we've transformed the company. So we're going to transform the brand look. We'll be making some announcements about that in the next few weeks as well. So I'm sure some investors will be keen to see the results of that.
There is a lot going on. It's really interesting, and it makes a lot of sense to be able to bring them under the banner. I think you touched on it earlier in your overview into Tesserent. Were you able to provide some more visibility into the breakdowns between those different areas and some of the trends that you're seeing across the different areas?
As I said before, about half of the business, a lot of people think we're just a services business, and that's not just services. Obviously, cybersecurity services is really important. That's where we do our strategic work with clients. We operate in the boardroom. We obviously compete with some of the big four players, big five players in that marketplace. We're getting a lot better at that. But then we introduce a whole range of schemes into clients around consulting, putting frameworks in place, helping people with processes, helping with training. So that's really important for us. And that's about 50% of the business. We see the overall business growing. Julian will speak to the growth numbers shortly. But I think the actual consulting business will keep growing. What we want to grow faster is the managed services business, the annuity. There's a lot of clients are struggling to hold the skills they need to operate some of the technologies and to be at the forefront of the protection area. So we step up and offer managed services around that, and that gives us 3 to 5 year contracts. It gives us a good chunk of unearned revenue. I think Julian will speak to some of that in a minute. So that's really important for us. But bringing that all together under a single contract to a client, we're working with clients that are consolidating at the moment. Some of them have 8 to 10 providers of cybersecurity. There might be a bigger player in there. There might be some smaller boutique players in there. And increasingly, we're taking some market share around that space as well. So it's quite an exciting time. We don't bump the overall market is about $5 billion in Australia, and about 1.5 to 2 of that is addressable for us at the moment. And we're operating at about 10% of that turnover. So there's tremendous headroom for us to keep growing. The industry is growing by about a Tesserent every year. So, so when we've got a lot of headroom to keep that growth going.
So I think, and part of that growth is we'd like to sustain our organic growth and really accelerate it. And that's the key of why we are bringing the brands together and launching all of these services under Tesserent. We put out in the penultimate 4C some indications of how that's going. And we saw that organizations were outside of the control period and prior to us coming and them integrating with us, they were growing in high teens, 17, 18, 19%. When they come into Tesserent, and we've been able to support them and help them grow, providing them back office services, giving them access to our more than 1,000 customers, we've increased that organic growth to the high 20%. And we see, an opportunity for us is to continue that path, to continue going organically. Being able to sell those services to new customers is great. Being able to sell new services to existing customers has a low really cost to acquire. And ultimately, that ends up in our EBITDA. And you'll see from the quarter, we achieved 10%, really strong EBITDA for us, given where we've been. We'd really see that extending in FY22. We'd really like to, our ambition is to get EBITDA up to 15%. And then with our mix of products, be able to extend that even further. And we think that's really achievable as we shift our customers away from project-based work into security as a service. So big focus and underpinning the business unit and the new refresh brand is helping our clients transition to security as a service. It improves their security posture. It's good for the customers, but it's good for us too, because we get much more control over scheduling. We lower our costs to do business. We have a tighter relationship with our customer, and ultimately that flows down into EBITDA margins that really start to transform the results of the business. So I think, it's a really exciting time. We've got the core pieces. I think that the work to date has been to build a very solid core. We'll continue to do acquisitions. There's no doubt that the inorganic growth is going to be important, but it's going to be additional focus on it being really strategic. We'll make some acquisitions in IoT and 5G. We'll extend our geographic reach into the areas that we would like to be stronger in. We won't do the same number of acquisitions, but potentially, we've got a couple of big ones in the pipeline that'll really change what we do. And, they're early days. We're working through how they fit strategically, but it's going to continue. We will be really focused on organic growth and serving our customers and building our EBITDA. and where we can find the right opportunities. And they're out there. They're really good opportunities out there for us. We will add those into the team. So exciting on both dimensions.
I think also to add to what Julian's saying is the Tesserent Academy, which we also put into the 4Cs, a critical part of us to do that in parallel. So obviously, for us to achieve our aggressive goals and ambitions, we need good people. And we've always brought entry-level people in. We've always trained them, but each business unit's done it a bit differently to their needs. But it's been a bit ad hoc. So we've set up Academy to ostensibly help us train our staff and really improve that skill set. It's also helping us recruit staff as well. We've always trained customers. We've monetized the training of customers because we've got very senior people in cybersecurity that also love training people. We love educating customers. And we always have a saying that, we like to work with customers who treat security seriously. And it's much easier to actually work with a more advanced client, and in a partnership. So with that in mind, the other thing is the industry is also lacking about 7,000 people, according to the federal government, in staff. So it's a great opportunity for us to also lead the way as a major player to help, to sort of serve that industry skills gap. So we're getting very focused on the academy. And, both from a strategic perspective, we're partnering with some educational organisations. So we'll be making more announcements on that as we go down the journey. And to back that up, we also brought on board a head of people and culture, Emmeline, who came across from PwC about 6 months ago. We've helped Emmeline build a team. We've got 2 dedicated talent acquisition people. So we're really driving the growth of really good people coming in, and using that internal cost rather than I think, Julian, it's about a 5 times saving we've made on spending with recruitment agencies.
Yeah.
So that's been fantastic. But from a market engagement perspective, one of those talent acquisition staff members has spoken to 500 people in 4 months, either on LinkedIn or phone call. So it's really getting the message out there around what we're doing. So we're actually seeing a lot of people in the industry sort of go, how do I join Tesserent? I can see that you're a major player now. So it's been really pleasing for us to see that turn around.
I think the other thing to add to that is we're also through Tesserent Innovation. We're investing into the cyber ecosystem, and since we founded Innovation, we've made 3 really significant investments. Most recently into Daltrey, a biometrics firm that is helping organisations transition away from passwords, and using biometric solutions to add a level of security to the organisation. We've got fantastic investments in AttackBound, a threat analytics platform that we're using some of our knowledge and things that we've developed in other parts of the organisation, may be able to flesh out that solution and build some proprietary platforms for the Tesserent customer. And TrustGrid, a fantastic solution around identity management and managing the life cycle and of documents and solutions. So you'll see us continue to make investments in those really innovative Australian cyber organisations where they have revenue. We're not going too far back. We're not a VC fund. We're looking for organisations that have great products that we can see the need for them in our customer base, and we can help those organisations scale up. And as they hit their targets, as they become successful, we have options to invest and to really build up a material stake in those organisations. So it's really 3 parts to the business coming together. The services business, that's the maturing Tesserent business that's growing at a great pace. Academy, which is helping the industry build the skills and capabilities that it needs. And then innovation to ensure that great Australian tech is brought to market and has the benefit of leveraging the Tesserent customer base. So really 3 pillars to a story that's evolving quickly.
I think also, Julian, that we see a lot of blogs, and occasionally people think of us as just a services business, or that we're providing bodies to clients and we mark up the cost. We don't do that. I mean, there's elements of that in the past where different businesses have gone through that evolution, but in our consulting businesses now, it's very much outcome focused. It's high margin consulting for services. It's engineering around advanced products. It's ongoing annuity in terms of managed services. And then, of course, the training business, the Tesserent Academy and Tesserent Innovation, we're taking that IP to market in preferential distribution arrangements. So that's going to give us a lot of value going forward. So if that's the one thing I'd like any investors listening to this call to say, rethink some of you need to rethink what you think about what we're really doing at Tesserent.
It's a really interesting one. We can really see the development of the story with that goal from boardroom to basement as you continue to bring in those capabilities. There was always a question of how are you going to be able to integrate these companies and these different capabilities in-house, but it sounds like you're answering them with the head of synergies, head of people and culture, this new restructures, bringing it together. To wrap it up, we'd love to just hear your thoughts on what investors should be looking for as you continue to bring these capabilities together to integrate them and continue to paint that roadmap moving forward.
We'll start painting a picture of number of services per client. So we'll actually start to put some metrics out in the past. Julian will probably speak to turnover and statutory revenue in a moment. But I think, we've used the turnover target as something to build up, because obviously where we were starting from was a small base and it was going to ramp up very quickly. So we needed to put some metrics. Those metrics are going to change over time. I think you're going to see us talk to clients around how many service lines we've got with different clients. How many clients we've got that are at $500,000 or $1 million of value. These things are really building up in momentum. Julian, maybe you want to talk to the
absolutely. And I think you'll see us talking more about our book of revenue, our annual recurring revenue. Currently it exceeds 65 million in work that's contracted but not recognised that will come in. We're really focused on building that book, transitioning our customers to security as a service, getting that recurring cyber revenue coming in. Security as a service is definitely the way of the future. And it's the big company. It's a big company that, as you can say, boardroom to basement, they're the ones that clients are going to turn to. And how that's going to flow to investors is much more annual recurring revenue, much higher multiples as people realise that this is really a security as a service business. More so than a consulting business. So some really exciting developments coming in that space.
Flowing through the conversation, it's really fascinating to hear. It's clear that the scale continues to grow. You talk about those potential employees who want to come and work at Tesserent now. You talk about those customers that are getting more and more interested. We'd love to hear some final reflections for those long-term shareholders who have been riding the ASX TNT journey, or those prospective shareholders who might be looking at Tesserent as something they're considering. We'd love to just hear some final thoughts that you guys would like to leave them with.
I just think the journey's continuing. For investors, we have really strong growth. We have organic growth. We have inorganic growth. We're growing into a market that's growing very strongly, and we're the main player in the market from a listed perspective. For an investor who's sitting there going, we read the newspaper every day. We see the ransomware attacks. We see the federal government increasing the budgets year on year. We're the main place to come and invest. So come and join the journey.
Look, I think the other thing I was going to say is we've got pretty good liquidity out there. So I think 65% is out there, 35% in the hands of sort of management and our senior leadership team. Our senior leadership team have come in through the acquisitions we've made, and we don't use that word very often, by the way. I think it's a financial term. It's about joining the Tesserent team, and we've had some tremendous businesses led by some absolutely outstanding individuals in cyber join the team. Not only are they taking on this reorganization in a very constructive manner, but they've really driven it, they've led it, and they're leading their people through that change. They're driving Julian and I to be better at what we do. So it's a really positive culture. We've done some surveys of the staff over the last few months, and we're rating very highly. And that's another thing I see, are you going to be able to hang on to your staff? Clearly there's going to be changes as we go through, but we're really, as I said, we're really starting to acquire some great talent off the back of bringing these businesses together and getting to scale. So FY22, FY23, the next couple of years look really bright.
That is Tesserent, ASX TNT, the ASX's largest listed cybersecurity company. It's always a pleasure catching up. Kurt Hansen, Julian Challingsworth, thank you so much for joining us on the channel once again.
Thanks for having us on.
Cheers.
I really enjoyed that conversation. A big thank you to Kurt as well as Julian for joining us on the channel. It was fascinating to hear more about the Tesserent story and their journey to continue to grow as the ASX's largest listed cybersecurity company. We'd love to know your thoughts, so drop in a comment below what you think about Tesserent and where do you think ASX TNT head from here moving forward. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share it out as well. This past period we've interviewed a range of different ASX listed CEOs, so we'll leave links to those up above that you can check out after this one. We're the ASX Investor channel and we make daily videos talking about the stock market investing, and we find and analyse the best growth stocks. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you've got your bell notifications turned on as well so you won't miss a daily episode, and we'd love to have you join the community. Tesserent's a fascinating company. We know the sector has got huge growth tailwinds behind it, so we'll continue to watch where they head from here. Thank you for joining us. For now, stay well and happy investing.